My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is my most sorrowful duty to announce to you the death of my beloved mother, the Queen. I know how deeply you, the entire nation, and I think I may say the whole world, sympathize with me in the irreparable loss we've all suffered. It is the greatest consolation to me to know of the sympathy expressed by so many to my sister and brothers, and that such overwhelming affection and support should be extended to our whole family in our loss. To all of us as a family, as to this kingdom and the wider family of nations of which it is a part, my mother gave an example of lifelong love and of selfless service. My mother's reign was unequaled in its duration, its dedication and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty which have now passed to me. In taking up these responsibilities, I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world. In this purpose, I know that I shall be upheld by the affection and loyalty of the peoples whose sovereign I have been called upon to be, and that in the discharge of these duties, I will be guided by the counsel of their elected parliaments. In all this, I am profoundly encouraged by the constant support of my beloved wife.
I now invite Your Majesty to subscribe both copies of the instrument, confirming the oath has been taken.
Signature from the new king on the oath that he has just declared in front of the Privy Council. And now witnesses will also add their signature to the documents.
I now invite the witnesses to His Majesty's oath to sign both copies of the instrument.
And that will begin with the new Prince of Wales, Prince William. He will be followed by the Queen Consort. And now those documents are being turned around because there are other witnesses waiting by the side of the platform who will also add their signatures to it. And just to be clear, Robert Hardman, what we're seeing being signed here, this is about the oath to the Church of Scotland.
Yes, it's preserving the settlement of the Church of Scotland. It underlines the sort of difference in the monarch's role with the Church of Scotland and the Church of England. With the Church of England, that will come separately. We just heard that in relation to this section of the proceedings, there was no reference to the Church of England. This is all about Scotland. Scotland is where, for the next few days, in fact, a lot of this, our attention will focus as the Queen, the late Queen, is brought to Holyrood House and then to St Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh. This sort of presages a very Scottish dimension to this.
And that was indeed Alistair Jack, the Secretary of State for Scotland, adding his signature now. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Brandon Lewis has already added his signature to the document. You can hear the bands outside taking up their place, because shortly we will be
Wales. I'm getting a very
Mansion House. The alterations, as you were saying, Robert Hardman, that have been made today to these ancient buildings, the Royal Exchange, where the steps of where this proclamation will take place, the Royal Exchange, which was the centre of commerce, wasn't it, in the sort of 16th century?
It absolutely was. It was a meeting place. It was a sort of there was a great hubbub there all the time. It was a place for gossip and deals were struck. And there's still an element of that to this day, as I was saying earlier. I mean, that's normally where we're looking at now. There's a little, this time of year, there's a little al fresco coffee shop there full of city workers creeping away from their computer screens. But I mean, today we are transported back to the age of Dick Whittington, really, aren't we?
And now we're replaced by the pikemen, the Honourable Artillery Company, and we've got the trumpeters there, the state trumpeters, who we will see in a moment, 4 of them, who will be standing on the steps. And very much a follow-on from what we saw an hour ago at St James's Palace. We will hear the trumpeters. That proclamation will be made. I was struck when we saw it on the balcony at St James's. It was almost like it's parchment, it looked like, that they read it from. It really was a very old piece of paper.
And it's now becoming so familiar. You know, we've now heard it twice. If your viewers would have heard it, you know, we heard the clerk of the council read it out.
And much of it, very much in a world view. I was lucky enough to be with him when President Mandela visited this country, and he visited South Africa with President Mandela, and rather famously the Spice Girls, and these flurry of activities which come upon you, and I panic, but he's not a panicker. He'll be fine.
How much difference would it make to his life, his roles, his work at charity, the Prince's Trust, which is what you work for, and he has put so much effort into? He has already said he will have to step back from a lot of that, won't he?
He's already stepped back.
The echoing fanfare from Mansion House over to the Royal Exchange. So, King of Arms in that procession, making its way towards the steps of the Royal Exchange. Duke, the Council King of Arms, and he's accompanied there by heralds in their ancient outfits and heralds. A link with the distant past. Those heralds, which were their job, messengers, weren't they? They were messengers for the monarch, sent to convey messages or make proclamations right around the kingdom.
And they are based at the College of Arms, literally a short walk from where we're witnessing these scenes now. And they're still they're the custodians of heraldry, of coats of arms, of aspects of history that perhaps we don't always.
It is very rare, isn't it, that we see this level of history, of pageantry, spill out onto the streets of London like this.
It is. I mean, and we'll see it in Edinburgh.
God save the King. Three cheers for His Majesty the King. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray!
A huge cheer, huge round of applause from the crowd there watching the second proclamation of the day that is just taking place at the Royal Exchange. I'm watching all that as it was happening. I'm watching as the procession now departs and heads back towards Mansion House is Sonali Shah. Let's join her now.
What a moment of history here at the Royal Exchange. The silence, that's what you could really hear, the silence of thousands.
The colour, the pageantry, the history that we have just seen take place there in London today, and that will continue tomorrow, Robert Hammond, won't it, across the country?
It will, in the time-honoured tradition. From here, there'll be major proclamations in the capitals of the devolved nations, in Edinburgh and Cardiff and Belfast.